They seated me at the very back, not near the family table, not even beside the guests from my side, but alone, near the corner where the waiters passed with trays of champagne and fake smiles. My name wasn't even on the seating chart, just guest of bride's mother. The bride was my daughter, Clara, my only child. But as she walked down the aisle on her stepfather's arm, her smile didn't even flicker toward me. I forced a smile, clapping with the others as she passed. The sound of her laughter hit me like a blade. Bright, shallow, rehearsed. It was the same laughter her mother, Melissa, used to fake before she tore my life apart. The violin played. The guests whispered. And I sat there, invisible. Melissa had made sure of that. After our divorce, she took everything. The house, the company, even Clara's affection. She painted me as a drunk, a failure, a man who'd wasted their future. I didn't fight back then. I didn't have the strength. But tonight, watching my daughter marry a man I barely knew, I felt something rise again, a pulse, a fire. Then, it happened. Someone slid into the empty chair beside me, a stranger, maybe mid-30s, sharp suit, ice-gray eyes. He leaned close enough that I caught a faint scent of whiskey and mint. "Act like you're with me," he whispered. Before I could respond, he put his hand over mine, as if we were old friends sharing a private joke. A few heads turned our way, smiling approvingly. Suddenly, I wasn't the forgotten father anymore. I was someone's company. "What the hell are you doing?" I muttered under my breath. "Saving you," he said calmly, raising his glass toward the stage. "You look like a man who needs saving." I turned to him, confused. "Do I know you?" He smiled faintly. "Not yet." The priest's voice drowned our words for a few moments, but I couldn't focus. Something about the man's composure unsettled me. He didn't. It looked like an ordinary guest. When I asked his name, he only said, "Ethan." As the couple exchanged vows, Ethan watched Melissa instead. Not the bride, not the groom, but my ex-wife. His eyes followed her every movement. When the applause came, he leaned toward me again. "You've been erased, haven't you? That's what she does." My throat tightened. "What are you talking about?" He didn't answer, just smiled again and slipped something under my napkin. The toast began. The crowd laughed. I lifted my napkin to wipe my mouth and froze. A folded note, small, crisp. 3 words written in bold, slanted handwriting. She ruined me. I looked up sharply, but Ethan was already gone, blending into the moving crowd of guests, vanishing between the flash of champagne and camera lights. My heart pounded in my ears. The handwriting wasn't familiar, but the words were. She ruined me. Yes, she had ruined many people. And now someone else had joined the list. I slipped the note into my pocket and sat back, smiling through the pain, pretending to enjoy the celebration. But inside, something cold and sharp had awakened. If you were in my place, sitting at the back of your daughter's wedding, forgotten, humiliated, and a stranger handed you a message like that, what would you have done? Tell me in the comments. As the music rose again, I felt a tap on my shoulder. A waiter handed me an envelope. "For you, sir. From the man who was just here." Inside it, a stack of photographs, and on the top photo, my daughter's groom kissing another woman. At first I thought it was a joke, a cruel, drunken prank. But as I flipped through the photos, my stomach turned to lead. The timestamps were from just a week ago. Late nights in a hotel room, my daughter's fiancé, Ryan, wrapped around a woman I didn't recognize. Same watch, same wedding ring already on his finger. I looked around the ballroom, scanning for Ethan. Nothing. He'd vanished like a ghost. But I couldn't leave. Not yet. I had to know why. During the reception, I waited until Melissa stood near the stage, smiling that picture-perfect smile for her rich guests. I slipped out the back, the photos clutched in my jacket. A cold wind hit my face as I stepped outside. Cigarette smoke drifted near the garden fountain. And there, leaning against a post, watching me approach, was Ethan. "Took you long enough," he said. "Who are you?" I demanded. He smiled. "Someone who knows what it feels like to lose everything because of her." He pulled a small silver flask from his pocket, offered it to me. I refused. "You used to own Carter Wells, didn't you?" he said casually. "Melissa didn't just take your house. She took your company, too." My heart skipped. "How do you know that?" "Because I worked there," he replied, "until she decided I was a problem." He told me how Melissa had lured him into a fake investment scheme, used him as a scapegoat for embezzlement, and left him bankrupt, blacklisted in the industry. "She ruined me," he said, echoing the note. "Just like she ruined you." For a moment, I saw the same pain in his eyes that had haunted me for years. But before I could ask more, he handed me another envelope, this one thicker, heavier. Inside were financial papers, trust documents, and transfer records, all under Melissa's name. "She's orchestrating this wedding for money," Ethan said quietly. "Your daughter's groom is in on it. They're merging family funds into her shell company. After that, they'll vanish. Your daughter won't see a dime." The sound of laughter drifted from the ballroom. Clara's laughter. "She doesn't know?" I asked. He shook his head. "Not a clue. She's being sold off like a pawn." I clenched the papers in my fist. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because revenge tastes better when it's shared," he said simply. "And you, Mr. Carter, look like a man ready to take it." I stared at him. The fountain lights flickered behind us, shimmering like small ghosts. "I don't trust you," I said. "You don't have to," he replied, stepping closer. "Just start tonight. Watch her closely. Every smile, every toast, it's all part of her plan." He turned to leave. "Wait!" I called after him. "What happens tonight?" Ethan looked back, his face half lit by the orange glow of the outdoor lamps. "Tonight," he said, "is when the cracks begin." Then he was gone, swallowed by the crowd, the music, the laughter that no longer sounded human to me. I looked down at the photos one last time before tucking them inside my jacket. My daughter was smiling in the distance, dancing with her new husband. And I smiled too. But this time, it wasn't out of love. It was the beginning of something else. Something far darker. Don't forget to subscribe if you're following this story. The truth gets darker every chapter. When I returned to my table, another note waited under my glass. In the same handwriting. Only 2 words this time. Midnight. Alone. The wedding lights had dimmed into a golden haze, but inside my chest, something had started to burn. Midnight. Alone. The words pulsed in my head like a countdown. I waited until the laughter softened and the music drifted into another love song. My daughter, Clara, looked radiant in her ivory gown, twirling in her husband's arms. For a brief moment, I almost believed she was happy. Almost. But when I caught Melissa whispering into the groom's ear, her hand resting just a bit too familiarly on his shoulder, I knew Ethan hadn't lied. The woman had never changed. At exactly midnight, I walked out to the hotel terrace overlooking the river. The air was cold, heavy with perfume and smoke. Ethan was already there, leaning on the railing, his phone glowing in his hand. "I didn't think you'd come," he said without turning. "I'm not sure why I did," I admitted. He handed me his phone. On the screen was a bank statement. A wire transfer of $200,000 from Melissa's trust fund to Ryan's private account, dated the day before the wedding. My stomach dropped. So it was true. My daughter's marriage wasn't built on love. It was a deal. She paid him? I asked. Ethan nodded. He gets half the money after the honeymoon, then he disappears. She calls it insurance. I stared at the dark water, my reflection rippling and distorting in the current. And Clara? She doesn't know. She's the last to know anything. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The muffled sounds of laughter and clinking glasses came from the hall behind us, the sound of people celebrating a lie. "Why are you showing me this?" I finally asked. "Because you still care," Ethan said simply. "And I want her to lose the one thing she can't buy. Control." I clenched my jaw. "You want revenge?" "I already had mine taken from me," he said bitterly. "Now I want her to feel what we felt. Helpless." He turned, his eyes sharp under the dim terrace light. "You have two options. Expose her now, or let her destroy your daughter's life completely." The truth hit me like a hammer. If I exposed her, Clara would hate me for ruining her wedding night. If I stayed silent, I'd be watching her life collapse from the shadows. "She ruined you," Ethan whispered. "But together, we can ruin her." I should have walked away. I should have called the police or my lawyer or anyone sane. But I didn't. Instead, I said, "What do you need me to do?" Ethan smiled, not kindly, not warmly, just a small curve of satisfaction. "Watch, listen, and trust me." He handed me a small flash drive. "Everything you need to see is on this. Open it when you're alone." Then he walked away into the darkness, leaving me under the moonlight with the weight of a decision I couldn't undo. Back inside, the music swelled again. Melissa was giving a toast, her voice sweet and poisonous. "To family," she said, "and to the future." She raised her glass toward me. For a moment our eyes met, hers glimmering with victory, mine hollow with fury. If only she knew what was coming. When I reached my car later that night and plugged in the flash drive, I saw the first video file. It was security footage from her house. And in it, Melissa and Ryan, my daughter's groom, kissing. The next morning, the sun rose cruelly bright over the city. It didn't care what I had seen. I replayed the video a dozen times, each frame another cut to the heart. Melissa and Ryan tangled together in her office, laughing, scheming. The betrayal was no longer theory. It was proof. I stared at their faces on the laptop screen, my coffee growing cold beside me. The plan was clear now. Melissa had orchestrated the marriage, paid the groom, and was sleeping with him too, all to access the Carter Trust. My legacy, built from nothing, stolen once, and now tainted beyond repair. By noon, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Ethan. Play along today. Smile. Pretend you know nothing. Watch her closely." Oh, it was the second day of the wedding festivities. The family brunch. I put on my best suit, the same one I wore the day I signed the divorce papers. Melissa was glowing, wearing white again, as if she were the bride. Ryan looked tired, guilt flickering behind his smile. And Clara, she was trying too hard to look happy. I walked in, smiling like a man reborn. "Congratulations again," I said, shaking Ryan's hand a bit too firmly. He winced, and I enjoyed that. At the table, Ethan appeared again, posing as an event photographer this time. No one questioned it. He snapped pictures, but his camera was actually recording audio. He mouthed at me, "Stay calm." Melissa raised her glass again, her voice honey-sweet. To new beginnings. I lifted mine too, forcing a smile. And to old debts being settled. Her eyes narrowed, just for a second, before she laughed. Still holding grudges, Richard? Always, I said softly. The table fell into an awkward silence. Then Ethan stepped forward, breaking the tension with a joke, charming everyone, disarming her. He was good. Too good. As the brunch went on, I started noticing things I hadn't before. Melissa whispering. To Ryan behind her napkin, her phone buzzing constantly, a flicker of fear in Ryan's eyes whenever she spoke. Ethan leaned close to me while pretending to take photos. She's planning something tonight. I overheard her call. What? I whispered. He didn't answer, just showed me his phone, a recorded voicemail of Melissa's voice saying, After tonight, he's gone. Make sure it looks clean. My blood froze. Who is she talking about? I asked. He met my gaze. Ryan. I blinked. She's going to kill him? Insurance money, Ethan murmured. She insured his life for $500,000 last week. I felt dizzy. My ex-wife, my daughter's mother, was planning another crime, another ruin. For years I'd tried to believe she was just cruel, not evil, but evil was the only word left. When the brunch ended, Ethan slipped me another note. If you want to save Clara, meet me tonight at the docks. I nodded slightly, pretending to adjust my tie. Melissa came over, wrapping her arms around me. Her perfume, the same scent she wore on the day she left me, made my skin crawl. Try not to ruin this for her, she whispered. You've done enough damage already. I smiled thinly. Oh, Melissa, I said, the damage hasn't even started yet. Her smirk faltered. For the first time, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. Fear. And it was beautiful. That night, as I drove toward the docks, headlights flared in my rearview mirror. A black car followed me for miles, and when I parked, Ethan was already there, but he wasn't alone. The docks were quiet. Too quiet. Wind swept through the metal cranes and rusted shipping containers, carrying the smell of oil and salt. Ethan stood beside a black SUV, his face half lit by a flickering street lamp. But he wasn't alone. A woman stood near him. Short hair, sharp features, dark coat. This is Lena, Ethan said. Private investigator. Used to work corporate fraud before Melissa had her blacklisted. She nodded curtly. I've been tracking your ex-wife's financial moves for months. I frowned. Why me? Ethan glanced at me. Because you're the only one she didn't destroy completely. Yet. Lena opened a folder and spread the documents across the hood of the SUV. Account transfers, forged signatures, and a recent life insurance policy worth $500,000 in Ryan's name. Beneficiary, Melissa Carter. She's planning to make it look like an accident, Lena said. The honeymoon cruise tomorrow night. Ryan never comes back. I gritted my teeth. And my daughter? She'll be heartbroken, but rich. And Melissa will be her support system, guiding her back under control. It all made horrifying sense. Melissa was using Clara's emotions to fuel another payday. I felt sick. But then something inside me hardened. What do you need me to do? Ethan and Lena exchanged a glance. Ethan spoke first. We expose her, but not by calling the police. She'll bury it before morning. We let her confess herself. How? He pulled out a small black box from the SUV. Inside, a collection of micro cameras and audio bugs. We plant these during the honeymoon send-off, he said. She'll visit Ryan one last time before he leaves, and we'll have proof. Lena added, she's arrogant. She won't resist bragging when she thinks she's safe. I hesitated, staring at the tiny camera in my hand. If we're wrong, we're not, Ethan interrupted. His eyes were cold now, the softness G1. She's a predator, Richard. You know that better than anyone. He wasn't wrong. For years I'd told myself to move on, to forgive, to let karma handle her. But karma moves slow, and I was done waiting. We made the plan in silence. Ethan would pose as hotel staff, Lena as event photographer, and I would play my old role, the harmless ex-husband. As I turned to leave, Lena stopped me. You understand, this will destroy her reputation. And maybe your daughter's too. I nodded. Sometimes, destruction is the only way to rebuild. Driving home, I thought about Clara. Her laughter as a child, her graduation, her first heartbreak. Every moment I'd missed because of Melissa's manipulation. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was redemption. When I got home, I opened my laptop one last time. Ethan had sent me access to a private feed. For tomorrow, he'd written. I clicked it. A test camera feed appeared, grainy, flickering. Melissa was in her office again, laughing. Ryan sat across from her, visibly nervous. She poured him a drink. After tomorrow, she said, her voice dripping with venomous charm, you'll be free. Ryan's hand trembled. You promise she won't know? Of course not, Melissa said. Clara's too naive. You'll be gone before she even starts crying. Then she leaned across the desk and kissed him. I watched, my heart stone cold. Before the video ended, Melissa whispered something I almost didn't catch. And if Richard shows up again, make sure he doesn't. The next day, I woke up with a feeling I hadn't felt in years. Purpose. Dark, twisted, dangerous purpose. The wedding guests were gathering at the port for the honeymoon send-off. A luxury cruise liner glimmered under the afternoon sun. Smiles everywhere. Lies everywhere. Ethan met me by the pier, disguised in a crisp white uniform. Lena followed, camera bag in hand. You ready? Ethan asked. As ready as a dead man can be, I said. We moved through the crowd like shadows. Ethan installed cameras in the couple's suite. Lena adjusted her lens to capture the docks from a distance. I was the distraction. The father trying to make amends. When Clara spotted me, her eyes softened. Dad, she said quietly, I didn't think you'd come. I smiled. Wouldn't miss my little girl's send-off. She hugged me, and for a moment I felt the old warmth again, the daughter who used to draw me cards on Father's Day. But over her shoulder I saw Melissa watching us from the ship's balcony, her face carved from ice. Ethan's voice crackled through the earpiece. Camera 1 active. She's heading to Ryan's suite now. My pulse quickened. I pretended to say goodbye to Clara and stepped away, watching the ship's upper deck through binoculars. Inside the suite, Melissa was pacing, her heels clicking like gunshots. Ryan stood near the minibar, pale and sweating. Relax, she said, handing him a drink. After tonight, you'll have your half. Just make sure the boat accidentally loses power near the reef. Ryan's voice shook. I don't think I can do this. She's your daughter, Melissa. She's my investment, she snapped. Ethan whispered, Keep recording. We've got her. But before we could celebrate, something unexpected happened. Clara entered the suite. She froze. Mom? What are you doing here? Melissa turned, masking her shock. Sweetheart, Then she saw the cameras. Her smile dehi as Ryan's glass shattered on the floor. She knows, he muttered. I could barely breathe as the chaos unfolded. Melissa lunged for the camera near the lamp, but Ethan was faster. He triggered the feed remotely, sending the live footage straight to my laptop in the car. Got it, he said. She's done. I watched on screen as Melissa turned on Clara, screaming, "You think your father's innocent in all this? He's been helping them. He hates us." Clara's face crumbled in confusion. "Dad, what is she talking about?" I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. I couldn't answer. Not yet. Then Melissa's voice dropped low. "If you betray me again," she hissed at Ryan, "you'll wish I'd let you drown." Lena whispered, "That's enough. We've got the confession." But before we could shut down the feed, Melissa pulled a gun from her purse. "Where did she get that?" I gasped. "Probably from her safe," Ethan said, his tone deadly calm. "She's losing control." On screen, Clara screamed, "Mom, stop!" Melissa aimed at Ryan. "You wanted to run, didn't you?" Ryan tried to back away. "Please!" The feed cut to black. For a second, the world went silent. Ethan ripped off his earpiece. "We're going in!" I threw the car door open, heart hammering. As I sprinted toward the dock, one thought echoed in my head. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was survival. Just before I reached the boarding ramp, a single gunshot cracked through the air. Then, nothing but the sound of waves. I couldn't sleep that night. Ethan's words replayed in my mind like broken glass grinding against each other. He'd said, "Your family isn't as innocent as you think." When morning came, I called him. He answered instantly, his voice calm but heavy. "You deserve to know why I helped you that night." We met at a quiet cafe on the edge of town. Ethan stirred his coffee slowly before saying, "I used to work with your wife. Years ago. Before she died." My heart froze. "You knew Laura?" He nodded. "She was my supervisor, but she also confided in me about something she never told your children." I leaned closer, my voice barely holding steady. "What was it?" Ethan's eyes hardened. "She knew about your sister's husband stealing from you, and she tried to stop it. But before she could expose him, she was silenced." My throat went dry. "Are you saying my wife's death wasn't an accident?" He looked directly into my eyes. "I'm saying someone wanted her gone before the truth came out." The cafe noise faded away. My pulse roared in my ears. Everything, the loneliness, the betrayal, the whispers, suddenly made sense. Ethan slid a small envelope across the table. "She left this in my care. She said if anything ever happened to her, I should give it to you." Inside were photos. My brother-in-law, Robert, meeting with a lawyer behind my back, transferring property titles and shares that used to be under my name. My hands trembled. "He took everything, even my wife's life." Ethan whispered, "And your daughter helped him." My vision blurred with rage and disbelief. He leaned closer. "They all played a part. But now you know. What you do with this truth is up to you." As I walked out into the cold air, I felt my heart split open, grief and fury fusing into something darker. If you were in my place, what would you have done? Tell me in the comments. I looked down at the last photo in the envelope, my daughter shaking hands with Robert. I returned home that night with the envelope clutched like a weapon. The house was silent except for the faint ticking of the clock. My daughter, Emily, sat in the living room scrolling through her phone, so unaware, so composed. I stood in the doorway for a long time before saying softly, "You look just like your mother when you sit like that." She smiled faintly. "You miss her, don't you, Dad?" I walked closer. Every second. She was honest, loyal, until the end. Her smile faltered. "Why do you sound so strange?" I sat across from her, forcing a calm smile. "I found something today. From your mother." Photos. Proof. Her fingers stiffened on her phone. Proof of what? Of betrayal. Her eyes widened. What are you talking about? I slid the photo across the table, the one where she was shaking hands with Robert. She went pale. Dad, it's not what it looks like. Then tell me what it is, I snapped, my voice echoing through the room. Why were you meeting with the man who stole everything from me? From your mother? Tears filled her eyes. He said it was for our future. He said you'd already ruined enough. I slammed my hand on the table. I gave you everything, my blood, my time, my life. She sobbed, covering her face. I didn't know, Dad. He said Mom wanted it that way. Lies. All of it. I could see it in her trembling hands. I took a long breath, steadying my voice. You've made your choice, Emily. But remember this. I make mine, too. Her tear-streaked face looked up, frightened. What are you going to do? I smiled thinly. Something your mother never got the chance to. Then I turned away, walking toward my study. Behind me, I heard her whisper, Dad, please, don't do anything stupid. But it was too late for reason. The seed of revenge had already taken root. If you're still following this story, don't forget to subscribe. The Real Storm B. Eggins now. Inside my study drawer lay a key to the safe where I'd hidden every document, every deed, every piece of evidence they thought they destroyed. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my study, staring at the old safe like it was alive. Inside were my wife's documents, property deeds, financial records, even her handwritten letter. She'd hidden everything before her death. She must have known what they'd do after she was gone. When I finally opened it, the smell of old paper filled the air, like the past exhaling one last secret. Her handwriting was still elegant. If they ever betray you, don't fight with anger. Fight with truth. That line burned into my mind. The next morning, I drove straight to Robert's office. My brother-in-law, the thief wearing a saint's face. The receptionist smiled politely, but when I walked in unannounced, the blood drained from Robert's cheeks. Well, I said, sitting across from him. Long time, brother. He tried to smile. You should have called. What brings you here? I placed a folder on his desk. The documents Ethan gave me, plus my wife's letter. Your crimes, your signature, your greed. His jaw tightened. You can't prove, oh, I can, and I will. I leaned forward, whispering, I'm not here for money, Robert. I'm here to watch you fall. He swallowed hard. You'll destroy the family's name. I smiled coldly. It's already destroyed. When I stood to leave, he shouted, You think this will make her proud? You're no better than me. I paused at the door. Maybe not, but I'll sleep better knowing you're finally scared. Outside, I called Ethan. It's done, I said. Now we wait. That night, news broke that Robert's company was under federal investigation. Someone, Ethan, I suspected, had leaked everything anonymously. Emily stormed into my study, eyes blazing. Dad, what did you do? I looked up from the fire where her mother's letter was slowly burning. What your mother asked me to. She broke down. He's my uncle. He helped us after Mom. Helped you, I snapped. He used you! She shook her head, trembling. You don't understand. I wasn't lying, Dad. He said Mom made a deal with him before she died. That everything she owned was supposed to go to me. The room went silent. Her words hit like a bullet. I whispered, Your mother left it all to you? Tears rolled down her face. Yes. She wanted you to be free of it all. She said it destroyed you. For the first time, my anger cracked, confusion bleeding through the fury. If you were me, would you believe her? Let me know in the comments. Emily reached into her bag and placed a sealed envelope on the table. Mom wrote you one too, she said, but you were too angry to ever see it. My hands trembled as I tore open the envelope. Inside was my wife's familiar handwriting again. If you're reading this, it means you've finally seen through them. But before you burn everything, remember, revenge only feeds the fire that killed us. I stared at those words until they blurred. She continued, Robert did betray you, but I made a deal to protect Emily. She was never part of it. Don't punish her for my silence. I dropped the letter. My chest felt hollow, as if my revenge had dug its own grave and pulled me inside. Emily was crying quietly beside me. Dad, please, stop this. It's over. I looked at her, the one person left from everything I'd built, everything I'd destroyed. For a long time, I said nothing. Then I stood and opened the study drawer, pulling out the second folder, the one with the last piece of evidence against Robert. I walked to the fireplace. This was my victory, I said, but I don't need it anymore. I dropped the folder into the flames. The fire roared, swallowing it whole. Emily sobbed in relief. Thank you, Dad. But I wasn't done. I made sure Robert will never work again, I said quietly. The investigation is real, but I'll let him live with his shame. She looked at me through tears. You didn't have to do that. I smiled weakly. Maybe not. But a man has to finish what he starts, even if forgiveness comes after. As the fire dimmed, I picked up my wife's photo from the shelf. You were right, Laura. The truth hurts more than lies ever could. Outside, rain began to fall, cleansing, almost merciful. Emily stood behind me, resting her hand on my shoulder. For the first time, I didn't pull away. If you've followed me till now, I said softly to the camera in my mind, my unseen audience, remember this. Revenge doesn't end when you win. It ends when you understand why you started. I looked into the dark window, my reflection staring back like a ghost. Tell me in the comments, would you have burned the evidence too? Ending scene, moral resolution. Robert was ruined but alive. Ethan disappeared, his job complete. Emily stayed, distant but forgiving. And me? I sat alone in the same chair from the wedding night, whispering, I wasn't forced to sit alone anymore. I chose to. Sometimes the only revenge worth taking is to live with the truth.